Would you like to speak with us?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mark and Diane, for your kind words, and thank you for nominating me. I'd also like to thank Gary for sharing some of his vision with us tonight. You know, most of all, I'd like to thank the rest of you for coming, my friends, my neighbors. I'm sure many of you were drawn here by some of the same things that I've been concerned about since we've been governed by the McNeil Liberals since 2013. I've lived in Millwood since 1993. We returned to Nova Scotia when the film and television industry started to grow. And I've spent my career working as an editor and as a colorist. I never thought I'd find myself involved in politics, honestly. But the McNeil Liberals have left their ugly stain on every member of my family. As a nurse, Diane's been working without a contract since I think 2014. That's the latest contract I can find when I look online. Our youngest son, Joe, he just started university this year. He's in a program that faced the largest tuition increase of any of the programs at Dell. That was a surprise, you know. How do you budget for that? Well, now, you know, you have to make a little bit of sacrifice. My other son, Byron, he's also in the film and television industry. In 2015, he made 2 offers on a house in Dartmouth, and then the rumors started flying about possible big changes coming to the film tax credit. So with that kind of uncertainty, he didn't want to own a home. He's since left the province. The film industry has been set back at least 20 years. For every dollar that was spent under that old film tax credit, about $7 came back into the province. This was $7 of new money that was never here before. Shows are sold to companies in Ontario, Alberta, the United States. This was new wealth going directly into our economy. We need those good film jobs back, and we need to nurture other good paying jobs, jobs that'll keep our sons and daughters here at home in Nova Scotia, so they don't have to move to Alberta or Ontario or BC to be able to raise a family. And today, you need a post-secondary education more than ever. And that's why the NDP are resolved to eliminate tuition at the province's community college. But long before a child reaches the college age, there's still that investment that our teachers have been asking for so that our children can build their lives on a solid foundation. Our son Joe, we adopted him in Ukraine. He didn't speak a word until he came home with us, so he was a little bit behind, and he had struggles with reading in school. So the school provided the usual services, you know, with a resource teacher, and you know, they did the best they could with what they had, but it just wasn't enough. So we enrolled Joe in a private after-school reading program in Halifax. As a result, Joe finished grade 6 at or above expected outcomes. And Joe went on to finish high school, graduating with high honors and a scholarship to Dalhousie University. Our son's a living testimony of what happens when we make the appropriate investment in the education of our children. Capitalism tries to tell us the most important thing is the bottom line. It's always about the bottom line. You know, I got on a plane the other day, and there was a guy behind me that was just mortified me. He goes, yeah, you know, alternative energy, that's the future, but it's kind of volatile right now. And oh no, we'll invest in that. We're capitalists. We'll do anything to make money. It's only about the bottom line. It ignores facts that can't be quantified on a balance sheet. Like when you invest in education, you have people who leave the school system as contributing members to society rather than as burdens. An economy reaps great benefits when there's a strong investment in education. I spent some time as a broadcast consultant working in Finland, and I found living in a socialist democracy was an eye-opener. It's everything the NDP has ever told us is possible and more. Finland provides tuition-free education to the highest level, even for foreign students. They have universal daycare. Their healthcare focuses on prevention rather than just cures. There's no legislated minimum wage in Finland because they have strong unions and collective agreements. Finns get 30 paid vacation days a year, plus 14 statutory holidays. We don't even get the same number of holidays as the rest of Canada. And every working day, Finns get a coupon from their employers to pay for their lunch at a restaurant. At the same time, businesses thrive. You've heard of Nokia? They invented the snow tire and the cell phone. They're from Finland. Every time you use paper, this paper is made with machines that are in Finland. Business thrives in that environment with very productive and very happy workforce. I think we need to really look at Finland as an example of what is possible. And if we truly want a just and egalitarian society, we have to stop listening to leaders who tell us what we can't do and find someone who keeps us focused on what we can do. And as I've gotten to know Gary, I feel strongly he's that man. Gary is not just a leader. He's also a servant with a heart for people. I see three fundamental things lacking in the McNeil Liberals: respect, integrity, and vision. We need a premier and MLAs who will listen to the concerns of every Nova Scotian, not just the elite, not just the Chamber of Commerce. We need a government who will negotiate in good faith with our teachers, our healthcare workers, and our civil servants. We need a greater vision than austerity. Our generation needs to leave something greater to our children than a balanced provincial budget at the sacrifice of their education and the well-being of their grandparents. I'm a cancer survivor. That episode made me realize that the only thing that really matters is life. And the only thing we can leave this life with is what we've done for others. There's a scripture that keeps my compass on course, and these are the words of Jesus. It's so simple. If everybody lived by this, we'd solve most of our problems. It's known as the Golden Rule, which says, do to others whatever you would like them to do to you. This is the essence of all that is taught in the law and the prophets. I'm your neighbor, and I care about you. If I become your MLA, you will receive respectful and responsible representation that responds to you. I will be your ear to listen, and I will be your voice to speak out. And when the NDP forms the next government, we'll be working hard to make a better future for all Nova Scotians.
The only thing left to do is to find out how we can help, how we can do our bit here. And so I'm going to ask Mike to come up because he's got a spiel, I'm sure, that we'll be interested in. And I'll leave some of the forms. I don't know whether he wants to use them or not, but we should help with some of these things maybe.
So I hope you've been inspired. There's been a couple of really great speeches. You know, and ultimately, this election is not going to be about what we can't do. It's and that's what the McNeil Liberals have told us for the last 3.5 years. All the stuff we can't do. What Gary and Dennis want to do is help Nova Scotians understand what we can do. What we can do together. And in a microcosmic version of that, in Sackville-Beaverbank, what we can do is support Dennis and support a campaign that is going to make a difference. Because I know that on election morning, the sun is going to come up and it's orange, right? Every day, the sun comes up and it's orange. And so on that day, that warm sunshine is going to shine. And you know what I want to see on lawns all over this riding?
NDP
Orange
signs.
signs. They're more beautiful than flowers during an election. And each of those signs is only $5. And so what I'm looking for tonight is that we would have a decency to say, you know what, I've heard the vision. I want to support our candidate, and I want to see those signs popping up when that election is called. We could be just 10 days away from that election being called. We need those signs to get made and get produced and put together and then back and get them out on the lawn. So I'm wondering tonight, is there somebody who would say, I'm going to buy 20 of those signs for $100?
I'll do that.
Thank you, Sandra. So that's $100. $200. Anybody else buy 20 more signs? Mike, how many signs did you put up in the last election?
A lot more than that.
1, 2 more. $400. We just raised $400. $500. This is awesome. This is great. Anybody else? $600. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Anybody else? It's going good. You might as well join the $100 club. And let me tell you, in Nova Scotia, we have a generous tax credit of 75%. So that $100 is going to get invested into the campaign, and you're going to get a tax credit for $75. So really, it's a $25 contribution. You probably can't even go out for dinner for that. So honestly, it's time to make a difference, and decide what you can do. You know, I know when I think about some of the investments that we want to make, it reminds me of Tommy Douglas and the consideration that he had, that it was time that people weren't making the decision about whether they keep the lights on, they feed their families, or they deal with the disease that was hurting them at that time. And he wanted free health care. And for 17 years, he collected nickels and dimes from people that were everyday people, while the other two parties continued to be out with the fat cats, eating great big food dinners and getting big money. You know, it sounds familiar, I know, but times don't change too much, right? But there's what we need to do is collect those $5 and $10 and $25 donations that can make a difference in a campaign like this, that could mean the difference between someone seeing Dennis's face on that sign, not seeing a Dennis face on that sign. So is there somebody here who would do $50?
I'm bringing my check up with me.
That is awesome. We have forms.
And I was going to ask you about those old forms, and I want to interrupt. I'm sorry, Michael.
It's okay.
I spoke about the great men that were in this room and the people who were ready to serve us and have served us. But we have one more, and I want to introduce this good-looking guy at the back of the room, Mr. Dave Wilson.
Dave Wilson's my MLA. I am so proud to be in that riding too. So just next door, we have Dave Wilson. So anybody who's actually volunteered to do that $100 to support 20 signs, here's a Victory Fund slip. And you know what? If you don't have a check with you, that's okay. Just put your credit card on here and pass this in to me. And I will charge that this week so that we can get this money rolling out to this riding so we can produce the signs. So can I have a volunteer that would just hand these out? So put up your hand if you said, yes, I'll do $100 again. Pass those slips around like candy. And you know what? If you're saying to yourself, you know what? I can do $10, I can do $25. I have my Visa with me. Take the points and run. I have put in a shameless plug for the movie Gifted. I went to see that with my daughter last night, and it was fantastic. All on scene points, so take the points and run. There are also sign location slips up here. So if you're here and you're saying, you know what, come that morning, I want that sign on my lawn. We have the sign slips here, so I will leave those on this table. Come up and fill out so that we can gather them up and be ready for that morning. And we also need some people power. So Mark mentioned when he got up that we were looking to build our organization. It's time to do that for the election. So if you want to volunteer, you got some time, you got a lot of time, you just want to go out door to door with Dennis, you want to put signs up, you want to build signs in the back room, you want to phone a few people, you want to do anything in the campaign, fill out a volunteer slip so that we can get people rolling and doing that. So we'll set those up here too. It's go time. We expect that, he's going to introduce this budget of nothingness, and they're going to extol the virtues of it and then call the election. So we are really close and we need to be ready. And we have a fantastic candidate in Sackville-Beaverbank. It's time to turn Sackville-Beaverbank orange again. So thank you very much. And if you're filling out the slips,
I got my
please.
first 100 here.
That's awesome.
Another one here.
Fill them out. If you can pass them to Sandra or to me, I'll collect them all before I go. And it's just like a vote, right? It only counts if it's in the ballot box. Tonight, before I leave, make sure you give me the slip, because like I said, we want to process those funds and get them back to Sackville-Beaverbank as soon as possible. We're this close. We need to roll it along. So thank you very much.